You won't believe why most real estate transactions fall apart. I'm Matt Thomas with Baird & Warner Real Estate in Chicago. I work with buyers, sellers, investors, tenants every single day here in the city, and I refer people all around the country to other agents when they're looking to accomplish their real estate goals. I've seen a lot of transactions over the years, and there are some pretty incredible reasons why perfectly good deals fall apart all the time. So today we're going to go through some of the top reasons that real estate transactions fall apart after they go under contract. I like to think of going under contract as sort of a soft congratulations, like a golf clap, if you will. You're not there yet. You accomplished a major feat, which is you found a home. That's something, believe it or not, many buyers struggle with every single day here in the city right now because there aren't many homes for sale. But after that, there's still quite a bit of work left to do before you can close on that property, move in, start grilling and having the housewarming party. You've got a lot more to go. And unfortunately, there are fairly common failure points along the way. The first one is one we've seen for a long time, but recently we're seeing it more frequently, and that's financing issues. People have problems getting their loan approved for one reason or another. Generally speaking, it's because they lose their income. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of layoffs, particularly in the tech sector lately, that has direct implications on potential home buyers. It's not only the loss of income, though. When you agree to purchase a home, you agree to certain stipulations around your mortgage interest rate, and you do that because you probably can't afford to buy that home if the rate balloons too much. Unfortunately, with mortgage interest rates in flux as much as they have been recently, we've seen contracts get canceled because the rate goes up at a rapid pace before they lock it. And unfortunately, the new financing stipulations at the higher rate price some buyers out from continuing on in the transaction. So there's a legitimate risk of a rapid acceleration in interest rates directly impacting your home purchaser. And we've seen that in this marketplace. That's not fairly common. Normally, interest rates aren't that volatile, but lately, it's certainly become a risk. On the back end of the financing process, you also have to get a home appraised. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of really tough appraisals lately. Appraisals are based on 6 months trailing history in most areas, and you can't use any sort of future proofing or predicting when making that analysis. So you're bound by whatever the last 6 months were for competitive homes. If that was an unfavorable time, if prices have been steadily declining, or even if prices are flat, appraisals are a real concern, and they can be a reason that a deal falls apart if you're unable to come to terms with that buyer or if that buyer is unprepared to bring cash to the table to close. The second most common reason a deal will fall apart, usually it's over the home inspection. Doesn't necessarily mean that every home inspection uncovers some massive amount of damage that the buyer is unwilling to take on. You really could cancel a deal over very little.
This car is crap. I will buy it for next to nothing.
I've seen deals canceled over the fact that there were GFCI outlets that were ungrounded, which created a potential fire hazard, right? No, that's probably not going to happen. And it's an easy fix for any contractor or electrician, but it more likely is a reflection of the buyer having second thoughts and using the inspection period to get out of the deal. And that's a very real thing that happens, not just in this market, but in any market where you have a favorable buyer attorney review period. Here in Illinois, it's pretty lax on what a buyer needs to accomplish in order to prove they're going to cancel a deal for the right reasons. They could call and just say inspection was unsatisfactory, and they have the right to get their earnest money back in most cases. So you need to be aware that as you're going through inspection, buyers can take a lot of liberties in what they ask for. Whether you agree with them, whether they're actually fair, really hit or miss, but they can ask. The point of inspection is to focus on major or structural issues, and I wish that was the case. In reality, many people use that as like a checklist of items that they see wrong with the home, and oftentimes they can convince themselves out of a perfectly good deal. Inspection is a viable time where people can cancel a contract. I've had buyers who, during the inspection period, find crazy amounts of water damage or unforeseen mold, or maybe they just find out that something about the home isn't legal per construction code. There's all kinds of things that come up that you weren't anticipating, couldn't have foreseen, and the reason that period exists is to give you an out from the deal. It does create a period where we have another round of negotiation. Sellers often have to give a little bit, buyers have to give a little bit on what they expect from the sellers. Hopefully we get through that period amicably, but fairly often we don't. We have a buyer who wants too much for the seller to give, or a seller who is unwilling to give anything, and you hit an impasse and the deal falls apart. This is often where you see the as-is clause come into play too. People will use this to kind of get ahead of any of the ticky-tack inspection requests that come up, but fairly common to see deals die on the table during inspection. In a balanced market, we see contingency issues cause delays and cancellations of contract. So in the COVID market, you really didn't have the ability to add contingencies to an offer. For example, a home sale contingency gives you the right to sell your home, take the funds from that sale, and then use them towards your new home purchase. And you're actually working with the current owner of your future home on this contingency period where you're allowed to sell your home, they wait for you to get the cash, and then you close on their property. During COVID, when there was super competitive marketplace and buyers were chomping at the bits to get into anything and overbidding on everything, sellers were not willing to listen to a home sale contingency. They had no incentive. And in many pockets, that's still the case. But in markets that are coming back to reality and are experiencing a bit more balance right now, you start to see deals get held up on these contingency. Let's say that you accepted a home sale contingency, you're waiting on them to sell their home, and they can't. They overpriced it. They're not having any luck. Now it's getting to the end of contingency. You can't get through it. They don't have the cash because they haven't sold their home. Yeah, that deal is probably going to die. Contingencies do create complications. Technically speaking, most offers come with some level of contingencies. An inspection might be part of a contingency. If you hear people talk about as is, they're waiving their right to go after additional funds or additional requests for repairs from the inspection, but they still have a contingency that allows them to conduct the inspection. So really, the sticky points of a contract are the contingencies. And oftentimes, depending on what those are, depending on how strict they are, they can be a point of impasse in a deal. If you're curious about the home buying process in general, I've made another video on that. Check it out. It's a great intro video just in general if you think about buying a condo in Chicago. Title issues are something nobody thinks about, nobody sees, and oftentimes it's nobody's fault. They don't even know about it. But it comes into play all the time in real estate transactions. You might have liens against a property that you didn't even know about. I've seen deals, they're just in a municipality where there was trash violations against the property. They weren't aware of it. Those violations got filed with the city, and there was an actual lien against the property holder for their unpaid trash tickets to the county. So yeah, there are all kinds of things that can pop up and in some way create a cloud on your title or make it complicated to have a sale. Every once in a while, we run into an actual error on the deed. For example, we've seen where somebody goes to buy a unit and it's supposed to be transacted with the parking space, but then when we go to pull those tax bills, it turns out the owner never owned that parking space. That creates a pretty complicated situation for anybody in that deal. So issues come up all the time with unexpected liens or just title issues, boundary issues, plot line issues, anything that could impact clear title. At the end of the day, to transact real estate, we need to have clear title. The buyer has the right to take possession of that property with clear title, knowing there are no outside factors that are come try to take it from them after the fact. These last two honestly drive me insane. It's emotion and poor communication. Emotion is one that's obvious in any transaction, and it's a reality. If you lived in a home for a long time, you've got emotional feelings about it. If you're trying to buy a home or maybe pushing your budget to buy a home, you're emotional about the process. There's emotion on all sides of this transaction, and it tends to be a nightmare when they get dragged into the actual negotiation.
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
At the end of the day, market value has nothing to do with how anybody feels in a transaction. But unfortunately, all kinds of emotions and feelings directly impact how the transaction plays out. I've seen issues where during an inspection, a buyer is sitting in the property and has a literal emotional meltdown because they can hear more city noise than they thought they could on their first showing, and they could never live in a home where they hear this much noise. And it's amazing whether they actually think that or they just convince themselves of that. You know, there's a fair amount of emotional distress or emotional reckoning that happens during the home buying and home selling process. And we have to deal with it. Oftentimes deals don't survive because of it. And poor communication, this is usually an agent issue. It can definitely be an owner issue. Owners, if you're working with an agent as a buyer or a seller, communicate with them. If they have questions, communicate in a timely manner, because some of those things have direct impacts on how a deal will go. For example, if you're a seller and you're being asked to provide condo docs or proof of something from your condo board and it's not happening, deals fall apart all the time because we don't get the information necessary and buyers just move on. Don't let lack of communication become the reason you don't sell your home. And if you're a buyer, hey, listen, if you go under contract, going on vacation is totally fine. Tell everyone you're going to do it and set the expectation. If you go under contract and then disappear out of the country for 10 days and we can't reach you, that deal is going to get canceled too. And you can't blame everybody for not recognizing what you were doing. And in agents, we need to work on the level of communication that we have. I can't tell you how many times people just send me an offer just via email. No phone call, no text, no follow-up. I have no idea. You know how many emails I get in a day? I don't even see some of them. It's not my fault that I didn't see your offer. You sent it to my spam folder. You have got to communicate when you're sending things. And I think that what we're lacking in many ways in our industry right now is that personal connection. It's easier for us all to do business if we communicate, understand where every party's coming from, and work forward together. What did I miss in this video? Did you have a transaction go south? Why? Share your horror story below. We'd love to learn from it. I know that it will add value to somebody else in their home buying or home selling process. If you haven't already and you're still with me now, subscribe to this channel, like this video, leave a comment below. You're helping me out, you're helping the channel out, and hopefully you're helping out somebody else who wants to buy or sell a home. We'll see you next time.